What if the most radical transformation you'll ever witness doesn't announce itself with noise, with drama, with a public breakdown or a tearful confession, but with a silence so complete it feels like a different person walked into the room? Stay with me. Because what Carl Jung discovered about what happens inside an empath during the healing process will permanently change how you understand recovery, power, and the quiet revolution of becoming whole. Most people think healing looks like happiness. They expect it to be visible, lighter energy, wider smiles, and obvious before and after. But Jung's research on psychological individuation reveals something far more complex, far more subtle, and frankly far more terrifying to everyone who benefited from the empath's wounds. True healing, Jung discovered, doesn't make someone easier to be around. It makes them impossible to manipulate, and that changes everything. Carl Jung observed that people in unhealed states are extraordinarily loud, not necessarily with words, but with need, with seeking, with the invisible hunger for validation that radiates from someone who hasn't yet learned to be their own witness. The wounded empath carries this hunger like a frequency. They over-explain. They over-apologize. They fill silences because silence feels like disapproval, like absence, like the confirmation of every fear they've been handed by people who should have protected them instead. But Jung discovered something remarkable about what he called the individuation process. When it truly begins, when the empath stops running from their own interior and starts moving toward it, the noise stops. Not because they've become cold, but because they've become sufficient. The silence that emerges in a healing empath is not emptiness. According to Jung's theory of the self, it is fullness, the sound of someone who no longer requires external noise to drown out internal doubt. And if you were one of the people who relied on that hunger, that silence will feel like a door closing in your face, because it is. Here's what most people don't understand about empaths before they heal. They don't just feel everything, they absorb it. They metabolize other people's emotional chaos as though it were their responsibility, their burden, their purpose. Jung called this participation mystique, a psychological merging with others that erases the boundary between self and other. For the wounded empath, this merging is their default state. They take on your anxiety, they carry your shame, they shrink themselves to accommodate your inability to grow. But when healing begins, something Jung called differentiation occurs. The empath starts to recognize what belongs to them and what belongs to someone else. And this recognition is not intellectual, it's cellular. It rewires how they inhabit a room. What follows is not cruelty, it's not coldness. It's something Jung identified as the natural consequence of psychological maturation, the quiet, unannounced withdrawal of misplaced empathy. The healing empath stops absorbing what was never theirs to carry. They stop responding to manipulation as though it were pain. They stop engaging with chaos as though it were a problem they are equipped to solve. They begin to discern. And discernment, Jung discovered, is the one quality that makes an empath genuinely untouchable. Jung spoke at length about what he called the shadow integration, the process by which a person confronts and reclaims the parts of themselves they were taught to bury. For most empaths, the shadow is not darkness in the conventional sense. Their shadow contains their anger, their authority, their right to take up space without apologizing for it. These are the qualities the wounded empath suppressed because somewhere along the way they were taught that their value was conditional, contingent on their softness, their availability, their willingness to make everyone else comfortable at the expense of themselves. But Jung discovered that suppressed qualities don't disappear. They accumulate. And when the healing empath finally begins to integrate them, when they reclaim their anger not as destruction but as information, when they step into their authority not as aggression but as self-respect, the people around them experience it as a seismic shift. Because the empath they knew was predictable, manageable, safe to disappoint. The healed empath is none of those things. They speak directly now. They don't cushion truth to protect the comfort of people who never cushioned truth for them. They hold positions under pressure. They look you in the eye when they say no, and they don't elaborate, justify, or wait for your permission to mean it. Jung called this the emergence of the authentic self. And once it emerges, it cannot be pushed back down. According to Carl Jung's research on psychological types, empaths operate through what he called the feeling function. Not emotion in the chaotic sense, but a sophisticated form of relational intelligence that processes meaning, value, and human connection at extraordinary depth. Before healing, this function is indiscriminate. It opens to everyone. It trusts reflexively. It mistakes intensity for intimacy and persistence for love. After healing, it becomes selective in a way that has nothing to do with cynicism and everything to do with what Jung called hard-earned discernment. The healed empath still feels deeply. That never changes. Jung understood that the feeling function doesn't diminish through individuation. It refines. What shifts is the threshold. Where the wounded empath gave access freely, the healed empath makes people earn it. Not through tests or games, but through the simple, quiet observation of whether someone's actions and their words occupy the same space. And here is what will send chills down your spine. The healed empath knows the difference immediately. They always did. What changed is that now they act on what they know. There comes a moment in every genuine healing journey. Jung mapped it across thousands of patients, across decades of clinical observation, when an individual stops seeking completion from the outside world and discovers it was always an interior architecture waiting to be built. For the empath, this moment is both devastating and glorious. Devastating, because it renders certain relationships instantly obsolete. Glorious because it produces what Jung described as psychological sovereignty, a state in which no one person, no single relationship, no external validation holds the power to determine your worth. The healed empath reaches this state not through hardening, but through wholeness. They carry their wounds with them, but the wounds no longer drive the vehicle. They have become what Jung called conscious participants in their own story, able to feel without being consumed, able to love without disappearing, able to remain present without losing themselves in the presence of others. They stop performing recovery for the people who broke them. They stop narrating their healing as proof of survival for an audience that contributed to the wound. They go quiet in the most profound sense of the word, not withdrawn, not absent. Complete. Here is what Carl Jung understood, that most people only learn through tremendous loss. The healing of an empath is not a return to who they were before they were hurt. Jung was unequivocal about this. I by individuation is not restoration. It is transformation, the forging of something entirely new from the raw material of everything that tried to break them. The silent shift you witness in a healing empath, the stillness, the discernment, the quiet authority, the refusal to perform smallness anymore. This is not a phase. This is not a defense mechanism. This is what Jung called the individuated self arriving, and it arrives with the certainty of something that has been a long time coming and will never be undone. They are not healing back to who they were. They are healing forward into who they were always meant to become. And that, according to Carl Jung's lifetime of research into the human psyche, is not a gentle process for the people around them to witness. Because what emerges when an empath heals is not someone easier to love. It is someone who finally knows exactly what love is and will accept nothing less. If something in this found you, perhaps it's not coincidence, perhaps it's recognition.